Welcome everyone to another developer blog session. I am Scarlet Vixen, the developer for Mario Adventure 3. Today I'm going to go over what I've been working on over the past week and also go over a little bit of some of the tools that I use, particularly the level editor that I use for Mario Adventure 3. So this week, I worked mostly on levels, so I'm not going to show that off because, that's kind of a spoiler. But something I did work on, I can actually show this off real quick. Let me move this over here. Sweet. Let me refresh this real quick. Haha! So the title screen has a little bit of an effect going on. So this is it's just stars that are falling. They do a little sparkle effect. It's really cool. The color of the stars and the sparkles will actually change. So let's see if I can go in here and get the change real quick. Let's play a few levels here. Grab a few things. I'm gonna have to beat this level real quick, so I'm really sorry that you guys are gonna have to watch me do this. I have played this level so many times. Probably should work on the hitbox because you could not see him and he still hurt you. Yeah, fortunately the hitbox stuff is pretty easy to fix. I've also made some changes to some of the levels. Oops. Let's go ahead and do this. Boing. There we go. Alright. So, I'll save the game and I'll reset it. And haha! Now we have gold stars. So, the color of the stars is actually based off your save data. So, as you play the game and you save it, it will change every single time. In fact, if I go to new game, close that out, and then reset again, it went back to gold. I'm trying to think of why that is. Let me go in here. Save the game. Oh, look at that. It made a liar out of me. No, it is totally like based off your save data. So that is one thing I worked on. The other thing I worked on actually isn't for the game itself, but something that goes along with the game. So I'm going to open up something new. Show up this little web browser here, and this does not look right. Hold up. Let me see here. Regardless, doesn't matter. You guys don't see the difference. So there's like a minor like aesthetic thing that's irritating me that should be working, but it's not. But anyways, so this is the official Mario Adventure 3 strategy guide. It's a website that I've created, and I'm hosting it right now. And this is the table of contents. So yeah, so this is going to be a strategy guide for the game. So whatever you click on here, you've got your description of your power-ups. You got a little menu back here. Let's go home. Player statistics. So I really am going for a official Nintendo Power Strategy Guide vibe. So for those who don't know, official Mario 3 Strategy Guide PDF. So let me show this off real quick. I like viewing this in another format, so it's a single page. So you see the table of contents here. These are listed, and if you go back to the home, so you go home, table of contents, I actually found a similar font, and I was so happy to find this. So yeah, I only have 4 pages ready: the power-ups, player stats, items, and techniques. Actually, game elements. I don't have techniques yet. But yeah, I'm gonna be filling this out as the game is being tested and I'm making tweaks, and I'm gonna release a strategy guide. And needless to say, that if you go visit this, you're going to get spoilers. Uh, by the way, I was as I'm putting all this information in here and cutting out all these sprites to place on here, y'all, there is a lot to this game. I mean, so much more than the original Mario strategy guide. I mean, just like so many more power ups. Like, look at all these power ups. Like, Mario 3 had, with the super, I mean, besides the mushroom, it had 6 different power ups, right? My game has, okay, so 7 with the mushroom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 2 more, and 4 of those are completely brand new. That's just insane. But then we go to the game elements, and there's tons of stuff. So you see 1-up mushroom, don't worry, there's no lives in the games. 1-up mushrooms are in the game, but they level you up and give you new permanent abilities. But yeah, there's like so much more in this game, and I'm so excited to list all this stuff. And it's kind of exhausting as I'm going through it. I'm remembering a million things. I'm still playing around the structure of some of these things on how to group things together. Right now, it's just in alphabetical order because who can argue with alphabetical order? But uh, also, what's really cool is I'm going to bring up some developer tools, and I'm developing this. And for those who are curious, I'm developing this in React. I do web development as part of my job, and web development was the first thing I ever learned way, way, way back whenever I was a teenager. I learned how to write HTML and move things around in JavaScript back before cascading style sheets were even a thing. So it goes back, way back. So I'm going to show this real quick. So I'm going to emulate the viewport here as if we're using a Pixel 7. So here's what's really cool. This is actually mobile friendly. So if you're playing the game and you want to bring this up on your phone, of course that's not going to bring anything because that doesn't exist. Say items. Just items not work? Let's go home. Items? That's so weird. The items did not work. Okay, anyways. But yeah, it's mobile friendly. It stacks. It looks good on the phone. And yeah, that's just like, one thing that I really, really wanted to make sure because there's one thing I hate is when I'm playing a game and I have my phone out and the walkthrough is not mobile friendly. Like there's like a million ads on the screen and it's just not a really good experience. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that you could pull up your phone and look at the guide and kind of walk you through things. So this has taken a long time, but so cool. And yes, it will be hosted at a website. I'm not going to tell you where that is, but you can probably figure it out. Anyways, so back to the game itself. So that's pretty much what I've worked on this week, other than a bunch of level changes and stuff. So shifting gears here, I'm going to talk about the editor for this game. So way back, a long time ago, I actually started an editor. Oh, ooh, wow, that was a bit of a sneeze. I may have to cut that out. So, anyways, long time ago, I worked on a vanilla Mario Brothers 3 editor, and I called it Ruben. And the idea was it was going to be the ultimate Mario 3 editor. It would take a vanilla Mario 3 ROM, expand its capabilities, and do all this really cool stuff to it. Well, I started working on that, and I abandoned it for a few years. And whenever I found out that South Bird 3 had created the disassembly to Mario 3, yeah, this disassembly, I decided to pick up the project again and I turned Ruben into the editor for my game because it was a lot easier to retrofit that to my liking. Now, Ruben it was okay. It was based in Windows Forms, which is an old, outdated UI technology. But the latest and greatest is Windows Presentation Foundation if you're doing desktop application development on Windows. I say it's the latest and greatest, but it's the newer platform. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I swapped everything over to Windows Presentation Foundation. its layout model is more fluid like a web page is. And so this is essentially the third version of my editor. So the first version was called Reuben. That was based off of the character in Lilo and Stitch, I think experiment 625, the experiment before Stitch, who's 626. And he likes sandwiches, so he called himself Reuben. Uh, this editor is called Spotlight. The reason this is called Spotlight is because Super Mario Bros. 3, as you know, is supposed to be a retelling of Mario's adventures, and it's supposed to be a play. So Spotlight is play. I think I explained that in my last video. So what can this editor do? So this editor is completely designed around the capabilities of Mario Adventure 3. So ignore World 0. You don't need to worry about that. So anyways, so as you can see, what we have here, we have an open project. You can open up a different project if you have multiple projects. Let's go Mushroom Mayhem, game. I should probably put a filter on here. Where did I put? Is it in here? I'm not sure where I saved the original file. Interesting. It's not there. Oh, this is fascinating. I think I may have a filter on here because I am missing something. It's definitely not that. Huh. Wow, of course. Demo bugs, right? Never fails. Going live. Alright, let's see if I can't find... Oh, is it in here? I bet... No? Oh, this is fascinating. Oh, by the way, if you're curious, let's go to Reuben. This is the old Reuben. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Let's see if I can find where this got built. Reuben, binaries, release. Nope. Debug. Sure. Ah. Wow. So this is a blast from the past. Let's see if I can open a project. So this is looking for Reuben files. Let's see. Do I have... Hey! Oh. That. Wow. Alright. So, very much not working at all. No, no, no. So, yeah. So, that's what my old editor looked like. There's not a whole lot to it. Very old Windowsy looking. It's got a little thing here. So, this one... I am so confused as to where I saved my games project. I hate to do this on video, I really, really do, but I'm really curious as to what has happened. This music editor is not mine, by the way. This was downloaded. I was trying to play with music. I'm not very good with music at all, so I'm trying, guys. I'm trying really, really hard to get music in this game. It's like brand new, but it's just such a pain trying to get this to work. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. I was in the wrong project. Ha. So anyways, so it's a JSON file. So I open this up and it loads up the project, pretty straightforward. Save ROM does exactly what you think. It takes all the levels and compiles them down into a ROM. Export RGB. What this actually does is that you can actually load your custom palette file to use colors on here, or you can export that to RBG file. So I think edit palettes. Nope, that's not where you do that. There's some way that you can edit the palettes, and I forget where it is. So anyways, there's that. There's create a new map, create a new level, edit the palettes, which I'll show that later. Edit objects, block sets. Block sets is also known as TSA. I prefer block sets because it's more proper term. Edit text and edit graphics. So edit text does not edit text in the game. This actually edits text around the editor. Edit graphics brings up in a totally different window a very, very rudimentary text editor, or sorry, graphics editor. You could type in the address that you're wanting to edit. Oh, this is overlays. Sorry, game. Huh? So anyways, yeah, so address 2000 whatever, and you can like edit the graphics, but it doesn't actually work. I'm leaving in here because I may flesh out some time. So excuse me. So I'm gonna close that out. So what does editing a world look like? Well, before we do that, over here on the right side, we have our project panel. This is this right here. So with your project panel, you will notice that like when I click on one of the worlds, it gives a little preview of the world down there, which is so cool. Whenever I expand that, you will see all the levels that are in here. So when I click on that, you see it gives a little thumbnail of where the starting area is in the level. And also you'll see a few stats. So let's say I click on Shy Guy Retro Revival. There's 88 coins, 6 cherries, and the power-ups that are used in this level are the Super Leaf and the Super Mushroom. Dig down here, and there's no power-ups in there. So I kind of use that because I want to go through all the levels and make sure there's a good balance of power-ups that are being used. I don't want the game to be like really heavy in a couple power-ups and like nothing else. I really want the player to utilize all the power-ups for all the entire game. I don't want this whole you don't get the sledge suit until World 6 thing. Nope, not in here. You get the sledge suit and let's see, where do you get the sledge suit? Veggie Volleys. First level you can get the hammer suit in. The sledge suit, sorry. So anyways, so yeah. So let's go ahead and open up a level. So down here you have open, rename, and delete. So when I click rename, I can rename the map. Okay. Yeah, it already exists. I can rename a level. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Now you notice that whenever I open it up, the project panel collapses to the right. If I want to bring it back up, I just click it and it opens it back up. So I'll go ahead and close this. So you'll see that you can see the map on here. And on the left you have your tiles. Below that you have your sprites or your objects. So you have world and world. There's only one set for world. So you could place things like I want to put a mushroom on here, and to place, well, actually I can't do that right now because there's too many objects on here. So if I add one, it won't let me add another one. But if I hadn't reached my max, it would actually add a new level. So it's pretty straightforward. So I can click on a tile that's over here. And let's see here. I'm going to put a little island out here. We'll play around here. So I'm going to change my edit mode. So this is your edit mode right here. You got tiles, objects, pointers. And then for tiles, you have a default fill and replace mode. You also have a grid, terrain, pointers, and save. So when I click on pointers, it hides pointers. So why would you ever want to do that? Well, this isn't on here, but I'll show it later. So you could export the level as an image, and I don't know why it's not showing up in here. I must have disabled it for some reason. Whenever I click on grid, it throws a little grid on here, and when I click on terrain, it actually shows the blocked off parts are parts you cannot move over. The exclamation points indicate levels that you can enter into, and a few other things. And it's much more robust than the levels themselves. So anyways, so let's go to tiles. I'm going to click this here, and I'm going to just drag and drop a few tiles here, and that's it. It's like you just click, or you can use the left mouse button to click. There's an undo buffer with Control Z. So I'm going to go ahead and just like draw here, and that's it. So I can, click over here. I'm going to draw this right here, add a little bit of this right here. And you know what? I want Mario to be able to get over here. So what I could do is that I could just keep clicking on these tiles, but sometimes the tiles are a little hard to find. As you see over here, you know, these are kind of confusing looking. But I see the tile that I want right here. I can hold the shift button and hit, and I can click it, and it will automatically go to the tile that I've clicked on. So I'm going to just drag this bad boy over here. And then if I click my terrain, it shows that I should be able to get over there. So I'm going to save that. I could either hit the save button right here, or I can hit Control S, and then I can either save ROM or hold Control Shift and hit S, and that will save that. And we go there. Go to our editor, or sorry, go to our emulator. All right, hop in here real quick. And just so you know, the reason I'm able to pass over the levels is because I changed the properties on the levels so I could just pass over them but still enter them for debugging purposes. In the actual game, you won't be able to pass over them without completing them. Let's move those all the way over here. And look at that. Hi. Yo, look at that. So, as you can see, it's what you see is what you get. Really, really important for game design stuff. So I should probably go in here. Actually, I can just undo and just get rid of that. There we go. Save that. All right. So we have our levels on here. Let's say we want to place objects on here, right? So whenever you're in object mode, you can just click on an object. You can move it. So I'm going to move the little fishy down here, right? Or let's say I don't want a fishy. I can hit the delete button, and that will remove the fishy. And I'm going to click and add a boot. Okay. I'm going to save that. There we go. And then let's go back to the main level. Go to continue. Look at that. I got a little boat on the screen now. So, pretty straightforward, right? Delete that. Now, the shift, when you're in object mode, you can shift click an object and it would actually select that object. So, I'm going to shift click that fishy and I'm going to place him right there. There we go. And the fishy is back. So, really, really cool. So let's go to pointers. So I click on pointers and then you can see all these pointers show up, right? So the way this works is that I could just click the pointer. Well, I have to go to pointer mode, click the pointer, and I could drag it around, and now that's where that pointer lies on. But when you click on it, down here at the very, very bottom, it gives you a drop-down list for all the levels that are on here. There's no offsets or addresses because all that gets rebuilt when you save the game. The way that it works is that all levels have a unique ID. So no matter what you do to the level, you could change the name, you could edit it, it's always going to have that same ID. And then the pointers point to that ID. And then when the game builds, it goes, you're going to this level, so I know the offset is going to be here. It's complicated stuff. It rebuilds the pointer table. The important thing is that no matter what I do to the game, how I shift things around, it will always build and everything will point to where it needs to point to. So next to that level is I have a little button right here. When I click on it, it actually opens up the level. Ignore all that. That was kind of put there for testing purposes. I was getting those for screenshots for my website. So now we're in our level. The level, it has very similar layouts where you have your tiles in the upper left-hand corner. You got your objects over in the lower left-hand corner. You have a few more options in this one. So you have the PNG button. Well, you have the save button and you have the PNG button. When I click on PNG, it doesn't get a confirmation yet because I just know that it works. And then I go into, let's go back in here, game, Mushroom Mayhem, images. Let's see here. Leap Fish Lagoon. When I double click that, move that over there, zoom that bad boy in, expand it. As you can see, it's the level as an image, which is really, really cool. The main reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to be using this feature when I build my strategy guide. So it was really important that I had that in there. And it's actually not that hard to do. So let me go ahead and close that out. So you have your, you have all that. You have the Alt button. So when I click on that, that's when you see the object placements change. So there's a video that shows alternate levels. This is how it's done. You just click that button and it changes the layouts and stuff. So go ahead and click that again. Of course, you have your grid. Then you have screens. What this does is create lines every 16 blocks. And this is really important for vertical levels because I had to remove the vertical scrolling code to make way for other features, but vertical levels still exist, and this is how it's done. The level is still horizontal, but the game plays like it's a vertical level. Then I click on terrain. Now this shows a little bit more information. So the little blocks obviously are solid ground. The stripes indicate foreground, so that means Mario and objects go behind the foreground. The little bubbles indicate water. You have all of that. Let me click that off. You have interactions. This indicates what the blocks actually do without having to play it. So as you can see, when I clicked off of it and then clicked on it, it has a little icon of a coin. It has the power up, ice, and things like that. This displays what the blocks do. And this, once again, will be really important because whenever I click on that and then I click export PNG, and then I go back to that one PNG that I was working on. Let's go back to Mushroom Mayhem game. Mushroom levels. Whoop, nope. Images. Leave Fish Lagoon. Scroll back over. Yeah, as you can see, those icons are actually on the image. So, very, very, very cool. So, then there's a little button that says P-Switch. When I click on that, it shows what happens whenever you activate a P-Switch. So as you can see, all the coins are now blocks, all the blocks are now coins, and then I turn it off, and then this is what happens in a normal gameplay. Highlight is a little different. So what highlight does is it will highlight all the occurrences of the currently selected tile. So if I want to make sure that all this blank space is actually blank space and not something else, I get a shift click on it, and as you can see, I have a couple of tiles here that aren't the same as the rest of them. So if I hover over that and look at the lower left hand corner down here. Oh wait, because I'm in sprite mode. So anyways, right here it shows tile value 81 right here, but 41 right here. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted. All these tiles should actually be 41. So I'm going to shift click that. And now that's the only one that's 41. So how do I fix this? So I have two options. I could do a fill mode. Fill does exactly what you think, just like your regular paint shop or paint programs. Click on that and it fills everything around it. But as you can see, there's still some areas that didn't get caught. So let me undo this. And I'm going to go to replace. That will replace all occurrences. That works a little bit better. So now I'm going to go back to the default and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. There we go. And that's actually really, really important because the level compression really thrives on repeating tiles. So save that and we are good to go. Also, I'm bringing this project back up because as you can see, it actually gives the file size of the level as you update it. So if I were to click on this and really mess with the compression algorithm, hit save, as you can see, it gets bigger because now the level's a little bit more complicated. If I undo everything, pay attention to this right here, hit save again, it goes lower. So it's definitely something that, I'm using these tools for a reason to help cut down on level sizes. So we got that. So let's see here. So one of the things that you could do in the level editors that you can't do in the world map editors is that if I hover over a object and I want to select that object, I kind of can't right now because I'm in tile mode. So I click on it and it doesn't do anything. It places a tile. What I can do is hold control and hit click, and that selects the object. And now I can just drag it and drop it and move whatever I want. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, no, I can't do that. To place a new object, once again, I just hit right click and it places the object on the exactly where you put it at. Objects, not all objects, but a lot of objects have properties. So as you see, that's a normal Goomba, but I can click on this and turn it into an upside down Goomba. What in the world does that look like? Well, I'm going to drag it over here and I'm going to show you. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go back over to the emulator. Let's do this. Edit this, and there we go. And look at that. We got ourselves an upside down Goomba. complete with reverse gravity. So yeah, so so it makes it really easy to change properties. And as you notice that like the Goombas look actually changes depending on that property. So another example is like the piranha plants. The piranha plants all share the same object ID, but I could just change their property. Now it's upside down. Now it's fire. Now it's ice. Now it's oil spitting. What in the world is that? Anyways, so now I'll go over here. So the enemies are actually placed into groups. So you have global type A, type B. Global objects can appear with any other set. This first set right here, it's a little weird because you see some glitch out graphics sometimes. But anyway, so you have the global set, and that includes global platforms, scripting objects. Some objects they activate events that happen. Shop, and yes, these are unused values, which there's not that many. Out of 256 objects, I don't have a whole lot that I'm not using. Type B are generally enemies that use the third quadrant of the sprite data allocation. So, we got your fire, you got things like this, and you could just, select one of these, click on it, and just drop it on there, and there you go. There we go. So I'm going to remove that. And then the type B objects are, yeah, pretend like you didn't see that. Ha. So anyways, so the type B are your common enemies that appear on the lower quadrant of the sprite pattern table. So these are the most common enemies on the screen. So yeah, so that's how you edit tiles. That's how you edit enemies and place enemies on there. Pointers. So when I click on pointer mode, or I just go to tile mode and just go over here and I could just control click. This is the pointer editor. So there's no separate window. This is all within the editor. So here, just like with the world map, you have a drop down that lists the level that you want to go to. And you could even go exit it to a world. So like say I want to change this to go to Bomb Bomb Basin instead. I'm going to do that just for the lulz. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to load this bad boy back up. And I'm going to enable a debug mode real quick. There we go. Get my Koopa suit here. And go over here. I go down that. Okay, so ignore the whole behind the curtain look, whatever. You shouldn't see any of that. So I'm going to pretend like that never happened. But anyways, yeah, it's that easy to exit to a world. So you just set the X and Y coordinates and that's pretty much it. Super, super, super easy. Now, if you want to set it to another world, let's say I want to level 1 to go to level 2. So I'm going to click on this one, Keycoin's Cavern. Now I have a few more options. So I have the exit action. So if it's a door, it exits a door, up pipe, down pipe, yada 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 yada. Disable weather, that is for like 1 or 2 levels where, yeah, that you don't need to ignore that. There's redraw level. So some pointers exit within the same level. So you don't necessarily want to redraw the level. You want the level to stay in memory so you're not worried about, recollecting coins and stuff like that. And there's the option to keep the object data too. That's used in a few scenarios as well. So I'm going to keep this as it is, redraw the level. And I don't know where 2114 is in this level. So I can click the set button. And now I'm over here, and this is pointer setting mode. So I'm going to change this to right here, and I'm going to change this to up. As you notice, the coordinates change. So it selected, it set that up, so that way when I exit this pipe, it will come out of that level. So let's do that again. Activate. Debug mode. Let's get our shell suit again. Let's see here. Let's go down here. Look at that. See? It's that easy. So freaking cool. All right. So, oh shoot, I should probably change that back to the bonus area. Change that here. Set. That should come down here and down, and we are golden. So, super easy, super fun. So there's some header information that goes with a level. So levels have animation, 3 different animation types: type 1, type 2, type 3. So when you click on that, you see that these graphics are changed to different because there's 2 different animated sets, actually 3 different animated sets. And then you have P-switch. Type 3 has no P-switch. So clicking on that, I mean, the editor adheres to it, but basically there is no P-switch alternative for this. So this is for levels where there's no P-switch, and it just basically has different graphics for different things. So yeah. So to show you guys what that looks like real quick, let me go open to YYCHR. Let's give this a more pleasant looking palette here. So this is what set 1 looks like. This is set 1. And then we've got a bunch of other graphics, and this is set 1's P-switch mode. This is how graphics and stuff are changed. This is set 2. As you see, there's some common things, but between the two, there's quite a few differences. So set 2 has a P-switch mode, and then set 3. Set 3 is by far the most different one. This one does not have a P-switch mode, and yeah, this is used for very specific levels and effects and stuff. So there's that. Then we have effect type. So this activates very special modes. So you have rhythm blocks, for example. So the level, what's it called here? Beat bound block boogie. Let me open this bad boy up. Or wait, did that not work? There it is. I didn't select it. All right. So this is rhythm blocks. This is the it activates the rhythm blocks, which causes the blocks to change based off the rhythm of the music. There's a few other things. I'm not going to go to all of that activate special effects. There's event types. That's for scripted events. This is the graphic sets. This is the raw address value of the graphics, basically setting at 0. So 0 is 0 in the CHR ROM file. So that kind of correlates to this here. So that says 00000. That refers to 00000. So that makes it easy for me to identify what my graphics are. And there's some math that's done in the background to make that all that line up. This the song, your palette. So this changes the palette. I'll get into that in a minute. You have a palette effect. So there's none, which means that day and night actually change the palette. Disable day not palette basically means that whenever the day turns to night and vice versa, it doesn't darken the palette. This is important for levels that take place inside. And then there's clouds, stars spread out. That's not really a palette effect, but that basically makes it look like you're high in the sky instead of the clouds and stars being way up in the horizon. You got your scrolling type, the tile set. I'll go more into that. And an indicator that says has stars or not. So what is that supposed to do? So let me go over here and let me reset this game real quick. Let me go to the map screen. So notice that when I move over this has 3 black stars. When I collect stars, it'll show what stars I've collected in that level. So there's that. But when I move over this, or I move over a level that doesn't have it, like a fortress, it's just blank. So that little flag over there indicates whether or not a level has stars. And then finally we have save in extended space. In the last blog I was talking about how I was freeing up space so that way I could save levels and have more space to work with. This thing right here will indicate that a level is saved in an extended space. So for example, if I go to Leap Fish Lagoon and then I save the game, you'll notice I have remaining space of 1,556 bytes, and then the extended space is 23,407 bytes. Okay, so I'm going to switch the save in extended space to yes, save, and as you can see, the numbers have flipped. Now it's being saved in the extended space, and the game will know where to find it. So that is what that's for. Okay, so pallets. Pallets are just a drop down. Pallets have a name. The game doesn't know about the name, but the editor knows about that name. So I could change a palette just like this, and it just updates on the fly. So I can reuse pallets and stuff like that. So let me go back to this right here. And the palette names were based off old level names, so ignore that. So I'm going to change this. When you click on a little paintbrush, you're taken to the palette editor. So at the bottom, this is the raw RGB values that are used, and I can edit these and tweak these, or I can load a different palette that I want to use. So say I have a better palette that matches my emulator, I can load that palette up. I can apply and I can reset. So I'm not gonna mess with that because I've already got the values I like. Let's say I want to change the sky to more of a autumn looking, like a sunset. So down here we got our colors. I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna click on that. When I click apply, and then I go back to Leapfish Lagoon, it's an instantaneous change. So I'm gonna go back here. So you know what? I want a dark blue sky. I'm gonna apply that. It's instantaneous. It is so freaking cool. Even cooler, let me go back and change this back to this. There we go. So not only does the editor actually honor palette updates, I can actually make changes to the graphics in this editor. Let's see. Let's say we're here, right? Oh, I'm gonna regret this. I'm going to change the brick graphics to be that. Why not? When I save this and then go back to the editor, wait, sorry, I changed the wrong thing here. So, yeah, so anyways, just to show you, I'm gonna do this. There we go. Save that, and I go back over here. As you can see, it was instantaneous. How cool is that? Like the graphics that are changed in the editor. Save this, go back to that. They update in real time. The game watches the files that are being updated and updates things on the fly. So that is like so freaking cool. So just a few more things and I'm going to wrap this up because I know this is turning into a really long video. So how do I get these graphics, like these enemy graphics, into the game? Because the thing is that like enemies are drawn very differently. Like all enemies, you know, there's some standard routines, but some enemies that are more complicated have different drawing routines. So how do I do that? So to do that, let's say I wanna edit the piranha plant, right? I will say that these changes do not affect the game when it comes to editing the objects. These are just the editor's representation of the graphics. The game is not touched at all. So to edit that, I have two options. I can click the edit object buttons, or I can go down here and just double click on one of these. So now we have our object editor. So here we can select our different objects as before. So you know, I can click on the mushroom, type B, I can click on this. And then down here we have the JSON format, which is a common format that's used for data. And here we have the game ID, the game object type. The game object type indicated basically what group this goes into. The name of the enemy, so it's a piranha plant. You know, let's call this a hyper plant, right? And I'm gonna save that by board over here, and then go to Leapfish Lagoon, and I'm gonna click on him. And down here it says hyper piranha plant. So that's what that refers to. So let's go ahead and change that. And then we have a sprites property. The sprites property indicates how the game draws it. The sprites properties has an object. Basically, you have your individual sprites and you have your XY values, basically where it's getting its graphics from. And you have a whole lot of the same stuff in here. So this is a manual thing that you have to edit. You have to know the format. Luckily, if you make a mistake and you break the format, it turns red to let you know that you have an error somewhere in your code. It's not smart enough to tell you where that error is, but still, it has that error checking stuff. And then after the list of sprites, we have our list of properties. There can be 8 properties per object. That's how much the game supports. And then you'll notice that with these sprites, there's a properties applied to. So what this basically says is that when the object has those properties, it will draw those graphics. And I'll show that off in a second. And of course, we have our group common. So we go back over here. When we change the piranha plant to a fire spitting piranha plant, that matches up to the property here for. So that was property 2. And here are the sprites for applies to property 2. That's because some drawing sprites apply to multiple ones, so that's why it's set up like this. So you see, you have your you have just basically different sprites. You know, it's a manual way, but it basically ensures that if I change something about my game, I could change it in the editor, and the I get an accurate representation rather than trying to dig through the code to try to figure out how all this stuff is drawn. So finally, there is this button down here called Show Overlays. So these are special icons that are not related to the game, but it gives a visual cue of how the action of the enemy. So, for example, let's go to Leapfish Lagoon. Let's go to Global Platform. We're going to do a. Oops. Let's go back to this. Let's go to. Okay. So I got a platform here, right? I right click on that and it creates the platform. So the overlays indicate how many blocks this platform is going to move. So if I change this to 10 blocks, it shows you how much distance is actually going to cover, which is really, really important for game design because now I can tell how many, how long this thing is going to go. And it's also important for the strategy guide as well. So that's what overlays are primarily used for. They're to give useful information as you're editing the level, so you can tell, make sure you're picking the right enemy, because some enemies, they look the same. For example, so I have 3 Goombas on here. So when I click on that one, it has a little arrow indicating that it's going to pop up. And then I have the Goomba generator, and it shows what direction those Goombas actually go in, where they pop out at. So that's what the overlays do. All right. So finally, the last thing is the the tile editing tool. So just like with objects, if I double click on a tile over here, it will open it up in the tile set editor. Tile sets in Mario 3 are a little weird. Their properties are done way differently. You have like value ranges. So water can only be in a range of I don't remember, 8, maybe 9, 10 values or something like that. Not in this. So every tile has a few properties. There are, how does it draw? What is its terrain? So let's start with the coin, right? So the terrain here is a background and it's a coin. That indicates that's the interaction, how Mario interacts with that. I could change this to a solid, but now the interaction changes. So depending on the terrain, your interaction can change as well. Let's go back to background. So when I click on interaction, I could change a lot of the stuff on here. So I'm going to say that this coin is now harmful and it's background. So I'm going to save this, and I got to remember that I need to do this. So when I go back over here and click on interactions, you see all these little Mario is dead things. So I'm just going to save this, and I'm just going to show you how quick and easy that was. Let's go ahead and start the game. Go in here. And coins are now harmful now. Womp womp. So let's go ahead and move this back. So yeah, there we go. So I'm going to change that back to coin. I'm going to apply this. So the terrain options are, you got your background, you got foreground, water foreground, semi-solid, solid, and item blocks. Of course, obviously, and hidden item blocks. So if you have an item block, obviously that is a solid object that you open it up, but a hidden item block means that you could go through it until you hit it from under. And then, so this is how, every single tile has a different, you can set all the different properties for every single tile in the game. A tile set is just a collection of 256 tiles and their properties and how they are drawn. So how do we draw these tiles on the screen like this? So here, as you can see, you click on one of these on the right side and it will bring up in this little window right here basically an editor. So let's change the coin. Okay, super easy. I want all the coins to be flowers now. So in the left hand side, I click on the tile that I want to replace it with, and then I go over here and click in the upper left hand corner, upper right hand corner, and I just click left side to right side, then I apply, save, and now when I go over here, all those coins, they're flowers now. That's right. Flower power. I wonder if Mitch Flower Power would be jealous. Ha. Anyways, so let me move this back over here. So as you can see, it's super, super easy. And if I already have the block on here and I don't want to have to click over and over and over and over, I can actually right click on the left side and it will automatically highlight a 16 by 16 square. Then I go over here and then click on the center and it just applies it. Super, super simple. So click apply. Also, below that, we have our terrain overlay definition and our interaction overlay definition. So what does that refer to? So back over here, whenever I click on terrain, you see these little blocks, right? The graphic that is used to overlay on these blocks is just determined by the terrain definition. So let's click on this guy. So here it says this is the upper left tile, palette index, and all this other stuff. This is basically what's displayed during the terrain mode. The interaction overlay is exactly that. So whenever I click on this, this is what is displayed that essentially draws this little one with a tiny little coin over it. That right there? Yeah, that is how that is drawn. It's by this little definition right here. Finally, well, I say finally, but we have affected levels. So this will actually tell you what levels use a particular tile value. So when I click on this, nothing is using that tile value. So I can actually just copy and paste over to indicate that it's not used. So to copy and paste like the graphics, I just right click on a tile and then middle click over another one and it pastes right over it. That was a mistake, I think. Was that a mistake? No, it wasn't because it's not being used. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. Okay, clear that out. Okay, and clear that out. So I apply. Those tiles aren't being used because a lot of times you come across tiles and they end up changing and you have all of these tiles and you don't know if anybody's actually, like if any of the levels are actually using them. So this is a good way to know what tile spaces I have available. Really, really, really useful. Okay, so just a few more things. So over here on the right side for this tile set, we have fireball interactions, ice ball interactions, and P-switch alterations. Fireball interactions are exactly just like these are the tile values. So like if you move your mouse over here, you'll see that number in the upper right hand corner changing. So like 6C. So if I find 6C, oh sorry, 6D. If I find 6D, as you can see, it's a fireball interaction, which is that's a frozen coin, which makes sense. It should melt that coin, right? The way the game does this is that if it finds a tile that the fireball should interact with, it'll add one to the tile value and update its graphics. So when a fireball hits 6D, it changes it to 6E, which happens to be a coin. Pretty easy. Ice balls work in the same way, except instead of adding 1 to the tile value, it subtracts 1 to the tile value. So CD is this water graphic here. Whenever the ice ball hits it, it turns it into CC, which as you can see is solid and is thin ice. Pretty easy, right? And then for P-switch alterations, this is basically saying that whenever the P-switch is activated, it's going to change the interaction. So when a P-switch is active, it'll say 6E will act like 5F. So what is 6E? 6E is, let's see, right there. It's a coin, right? It'll act like 5F, which right here is a brick. So it's saying that like it takes on the characteristics of 5F and then 5F turns into 6E. So basically it swaps the interactions. And yeah, that's how P-switch stuff works in this game. In Mario 3, it's hard coded, it's not configurable really, so that's how I handle that in this game. Pretty cool, right? Okay, and I think the last thing that I want to talk about is a little thing for the actual editor. So there's the edit text thing. What this is that all these drop downs, like the music, the event types, the effect types, and all this other stuff, having to go into the code to change all this stuff became a real pain. So all this stuff is configurable now. So let's say, we have effect type. It's called submarine mode, and I don't like that anymore. I want to change that to something else. I could go to edit text, and I change my text tables, and I am going to go to effects. As you see, we have these effects. These are the values that they represent because it pulls, it stores those into the game. So I'm not going to mess with these. But here, I could change this now to say yellow submarine mode. And I'm going to apply that. And now over in here, well, it doesn't update in real time all cool like the other stuff does. But if I close it out and just open it back up, and then change the effect type, it's now yellow submarine mode. Yeah. And just so you guys know, let me click on this. I can't do this without showing you guys. Yes, I turned it on for this level. There we go. And, yep, we are all living in a yellow submarine. So, yeah. So that is a really quick rundown of my editor and all the really cool things that you could do with it. And I'm sure you guys are probably more, excited about the marine pop, the yellow submarine. But I hope everyone enjoyed this run through of this editor. There's a lot more I didn't cover, but that's for another date. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.